The Book of Enoch describes a group of mysterious creatures that are claimed to have been created by fallen angels. That's what we're going to talk about. The Nephilim giants are not the only hybrid beings generated at that time. There were also enigmatic crossbreeds between animals and humans. Let me explain. The Book of Enoch mentions that the 200 Watchers conducted experiments with humans and animals, creating monstrous hybrid creatures. The text states that the 200 angels chose animals to perform unnatural acts, presumably including humans. There were 200 donkeys, 200 rams, 200 goats, 200 beasts of every kind of animal, bird, and form of life. The result of this demonic corruption was violence, perversion, and a progeny of monstrous beings. They profaned and generated giants and monsters. The Book of Enoch refers to giants and monsters, indicating that there were several hybrids created during this period. But I want to highlight what it means when these angels gathered these animals for formation. This implies some kind of reproductive process conducted by the fallen angels, using animal and human DNA to carry out their experiments with these distorted beings. These monstrous hybrid creatures have been documented by humanity, but are generally considered mythology. What if they are much more real than we think? The Bible tells us that in the days of Noah, there were non-human hybrid creatures, known as Nephilim, terrorizing humanity. Let's go back in time and examine some of the most famous half-human, half-animal hybrids documented throughout history. In Greek mythology, for instance, there is the centaur, a race of creatures that are part horse and part man, inhabiting the mountains of Thessaly and Arcadia. According to Greek mythology, the centaurs are the offspring of Ixion and Nepheli. Nepheli was a cloud created in the likeness of Hera, in a plot for Ixion to reveal his desire for Hera to Zeus. Ixion seduced Nepheli, and from this union, the centaurs were created. It's basically the same narrative as the fallen angels creating hybrid beings through formation, a term that literally means reproduction through intimate relations. There are also other creatures in Greek mythology that are part human and part animal, such as the sirens, commonly seen as half-bird, half-human. The Book of Enoch mentions that the fallen angels took 200 of every kind of bird for genetic manipulation, which would have produced hybrid creatures. One of the most renowned places in the world that speaks about these hybrid beings is ancient Egypt. When examining the hieroglyphs, we see how the gods of Egypt are depicted. For example, the god of writing, wisdom, and magic is represented with a bird's head and a human-like body. Similarly, Horus has a similar appearance. When looking at the Egyptian gods, we realize that almost all of them are hybrids between animals and humans. Could it be that these hybrids were worshipped as gods in ancient Egypt? It's possible that the creatures generated by the fallen angels through formation were worshipped as gods, along with the fallen angels themselves, since they may have imparted advanced spiritual knowledge to their descendants, making them indistinguishable from angelic beings in terms of spiritual wisdom. We must acknowledge that the fallen angels, before being expelled from heaven, desired to be worshipped as gods. And once on earth, they were effectively worshipped as such, along with their offspring. Perhaps some of these beings are still alive today, which would justify sightings of creatures like the Mothman. In the folklore of West Virginia, the Mothman is a humanoid creature reported in the Point Pleasant area between November 15, 1966 and December 15, 1967. It appears to be part large moth and part man. Mysterious creatures, which we believe exist but have not been proven, are labeled as cryptids. These beings have been seen around the world. However, there is something important to note about them. For the most part, they seem to be hybrids, which is why I made the comparison between the hybrids in the Book of Enoch and these mysterious cryptids. The Bible mentions, in Genesis 6:4, how these biblical hybrids existed before the Great Flood and also afterward. We can infer that a possible reason for these sightings is that such cryptids survived the flood. The Great Flood was intended to eliminate these abominations, not necessarily humans. God knew that to purify the earth, He needed to remove all corruption. These creatures are also known as abominations, and according to the Book of Enoch, they are described as demonic beings. The spirits of the hybrids that perished in the Great Flood became what we today call demons. Perhaps this is why demonic creatures like Baphomet appear as half-human, half-animal hybrids. usually a cross between a bull and a human. Comment below what you think of this segment. This concludes the video. Thank you for watching. If you're interested in videos like this, consider subscribing and checking out my playlist on the Book of Enoch here. I've made several videos similar to this one.